Hello students, welcome back to your English class. Now today we will continue with the last part of the explanation of the chapter The Puss in Boots. In the previous class I had explained half of the chapter. I hope the explanation of the chapter was very much clear to all of you. So let's continue the explanation of the rest of the chapter. The king immediately commanded the officers of his wardrobe to run and fetch one of his best suits for the Marquis of Carabas. So the king ordered to bring one of the best suits for the Marquis of Carabas because the king thought that he was a very royal man. The Marquis was soon attired in royal clothes and he was looking really handsome. This stole the princess's heart. The princess, stealing glances at the handsome young man, decided that she liked him very much. And obviously, here Puss got successful in his endeavor. Puss, quite overjoyed to see his plan beginning to succeed, marched ahead purposely. He stopped by some countrymen who were mowing a meadow and said to them, "Now, Puss told them, 'Good people, who are you mowing? Tell the king that the meadow belongs to my lord Marquis of Carabas, or you will suffer dire consequences.'" Now, Puss, he threatened these people, these countrymen, that if they don't say that the land belonged to the Marquis of Carabas, then they will face misfortune. So obviously the people were quite very much frightened. The king, traveling this way for the first time, asked them who the beautiful meadow belonged to. "To my lord Marquis of Carabas," they answered altogether, for Puss's threat had made them terribly afraid. Now they were really afraid, and out of great fear they admitted that the land or the meadow, beautiful meadow, belonged to Marquis of Carabas. "You see, sir," said the Marquis, "this is a meadow which never fails to yield a plentiful harvest every year." Now Puss, who was way ahead, met with some reapers. Now he went to the next plot where he met some reapers and said to them, "Good people, you who are reaping, tell the king that all this corn belongs to the Marquis of Carabas, or you shall suffer greatly for your disobedience." Again, Puss threatened the people or the reapers that if they don't say that the land belonged to Marquis of Carabas, in fact the corn belonged to Marquis of Carabas, they will again face misfortune. Obviously the people will be afraid. The king, who passed by a little later, wanted to know who the corn belonged to. "To my lord Marquis of Carabas," replied the reapers. So the reapers did what Puss said. The king was astonished at the vast estates of the Marquis of Carabas, and he slowly understood that yes, Marquis of Carabas was really a royal person. Puss at last came to a stately castle. Now he came to a big castle, the master of which was an ogre. Now who is an ogre? Ogre is a man-eating giant, to whom all the lands the king had just actually saw belonged. Puss, who had taken care to inform himself about the ogre and what are his qualities, already knew what did the ogre do or what was his quality, asked to speak with him. So he wanted to meet the ogre, saying he could not pass so near his castle without honoring the ogre with a visit. Now he had come to show his respect to the ogre. Obviously, the ogre received him as civilly as an ogre could and made him sit down. So he was welcomed by the ogre. "I have heard rumors," said Puss, "that you have the gift of being able to change yourself into all sorts of creatures. You can, for example, transform yourself into a lion, or elephant and the like. That is, he had the quality to transform himself into lion, cat, anything, whatever he wished. That is true, answered the ogre promptly. That is, within a second, the ogre answered, yes, it is true. I have the quality. And to convince you, you shall see me now become a lion. And within a second, ogre transformed into a lion. Puss was so terrified at the sight of a lion so near him that he instantly jumped onto a roof beam. When Puss saw that the ogre had resumed his natural form, he came down and admitted that he had been very frightened, because a lion in front of Puss, he was really very frightened seeing the lion. I have also been informed, said Puss, that you have the power to change yourself into a rat or a mouse. Now, Puss was slowly trapping the ogre in his plan. But I am inclined to think that it's impossible. That is, you can't do. I don't think that you can become so small. Impossible? Ha! Cried the ogre. Let me prove it to you then. No sooner had he shrunk to a mouse than Puss pounced on him and killed him. So the story of ogre was over. Shortly after this, Puss heard the noise of His Majesty's coach on the drawbridge. He ran out and said to the king, Your Majesty is welcome to this castle of my master, that is Marquis of Carabas, who is my lord. What? My lord Marquis? Cried the king. This is the finest building to complement the magnificent estates that surround it. Really, your master is really a royal man. Let us enter, if you please. So the king entered the castle and really was drawn by the beauty and the magnificence of the castle. The Marquis helped the princess step down from the coach. They followed the king into a spacious big hall where all the ogre's servants were on hand to serve the king and their new master. Now, obviously, the king was swayed by such a royal grandeur. His Majesty was perfectly charmed with the splendor and dignity of the Marquis of Carabas, and obviously he was swayed by the dignity, the royalty, which was totally fictitious, as we all know. So the splendor and dignity of the Marquis of Carabas, as was his daughter. Now both were swayed by the grandeur, and this was the plan of Puss. Now Puss was slowly getting successful. Ah, Lord Carabas, now where shall I find a more worthy son-in-law? Said the king. The Marquis accepted the honor which His Majesty conferred upon him, and Puss became a great lord. He never ran after mice anymore except when he was bored. So now let's summarize the last part of this story. The king has the young man brought from the river, dressed in a splendid suit of clothes and seated in the coach with his daughter, who falls in love with Puss's master. The cat hurries ahead of the coach, ordering the country folk along the road to tell the king that the land belongs to the Marquis of Carabas, saying that if they do not say this, then they will suffer great prolonged misfortunes. The cat then happens to visit the castle inhabited by an ogre who is capable of transforming himself into a number of creatures as he wished. The ogre displays his ability by changing into a lion, frightening the cat, who then tricks the ogre into changing into a mouse. The cat obviously took the opportunity, then pounces upon the mouse and devours it. The king arrives at the castle that formerly belonged to the ogre, and thus getting impressed with the false or the fictitious Marcus and his estate, gives the hand of the princess for marriage to the Marquis of Carabas. Now he offers him to become his son-in-law. Thereafter, the cat enjoys life as a great lord who runs after mice only for his amusement and for his wish and whims. So, after reading the whole story, we can come to this conclusion that if we are wise, if we are tactful, and if we are judicious, and obviously a bit sly, then impossible can also be possible. So, this is the complete explanation of the story, The Puss in Boots. Okay? So, I hope that I have explained the story in detail and you have understood the story. So, that's all for today, students. We will meet in the next session. Stay fine, stay at home and be safe. Bye-bye, everyone.